So I am pretty confident that in 2025, Manchester United are going to attempt some sort of squad rebuild. Of course, it won't all be done this year, but I think this year we will sign some new players. And if Ruben Amorim gets his way, I think those players will bring physicality and intensity. Now, why do I say that with such confidence? I've really said that with my chest. Well, because it's all Amorim talks about. Physicality, intensity. Physicality, intensity. It's all he goes on about since he came to Manchester United. He is always talking about the demands, really, of English football. So I think if he has his way, we will see those sort of players brought into the club this summer. So I thought I would take it upon myself to try and find some players that United could sign. I also decided the player must be under 27 years old, so they've still got plenty of years at the top level, but also over the age of 23, because I don't just want to fill the squad with project players. I wanted a centre-back, I wanted a wing-back, I wanted a central midfielder, and I wanted an inside forward. And to be honest, I think this is actually really easy. So we are going to start off with the centre-back, and for this I have decided to go a little bit out of the box. I think most people think if United sign a centre-back, it will be a left-footed one, but I've decided to go for something a little bit different for a key tactical reason, and I've decided to go with Singo from Monaco. A really good young player, really physical, really strong, really fast, athletic, but like I said, perhaps a little bit out of the box. Why would I go for Singo, a right-foot defender? Well, because I've actually been impressed with Yoro on the left-hand side, and I really like the idea of trying to get a full-back profile on the right side of the Manchester United back three, so that defensively, when we want to next season, in moments we can switch to a back four and still have players in their optimal positions. This is why I like the idea of doing this. In terms of what Singo is going to bring to the team, one thing is immense versatility, which again is important with squad building. He's played a few different positions in his career. He's played as a right back, a centre back, sort of a wing back / a right midfielder. He's played in several different positions. Technically, he's a pretty strong player. I think particularly with his carrying, having played so many different positions across his career, particularly at fullback, he has developed the ability to carry the ball out from the back. And on the outside of the Manchester United back three, that could be a really useful trait to have. Someone who can sort of power his way through. So particularly when you're building the ball over here and you draw the opposition over a little bit, work the ball over to Singo on the far side, who then has that ability to, like I said, really step forward with power and drive into the middle of the pitch. I think that would be really good from Singo. In terms of areas where he probably needs to improve it would be his passing. His progressive passing numbers are actually really good, but I think there is an inconsistency in detail of his actions. I think I often talk about technical empathy, playing passes that people want to receive. There's a difference between a completed pass and a good pass, a pass that is actually nice to receive. I think this is where Singo probably needs a little bit of work, but really what you kind of, the balancing act you do is he may be a bit worse with his passing, but in terms of physicality, intensity, those two words again, Singo is unbelievable. Tall, strong, and rapid. Unbelievably quick. And he would bring something that this Manchester United defence, quite simply, doesn't currently possess in terms of the ability to defend wide situations in the channels. Singo could be literally perfect for the right side of defence from a defensive point of view. He's also big enough, tall enough, strong enough that he can help Manchester United out in the box as well in these deeper positions. I think Singo might be a decent shout, and I would certainly suggest that United watch him, and I think he's a player that not too many people are talking about. So yeah, I like the idea of this. So if for the centre-back we were thinking outside of the box a little bit, for the midfielder we are jumping very much into the box and probably going for the most suggested idea, so this isn't particularly original, but it is Ederson from Atalanta. And again, if we're talking about physicality, intensity, things like that, it's difficult to look much further than Ederson when you look at his numbers. In terms of the percentage of tackles that he wins is phenomenal. Also, his percentage is in the air as well. Physically, this is a really strong player. And, he's playing in Serie A, which physically is quite a competitive league. There's a lot of strong players over there. So the fact that Ederson is producing these numbers in a tough league is really important, really important, and Ederson would bring a steal to this United team that's currently lacking, but also an intelligence, I think, from a defensive point of view as well. So you are getting more intelligent defending, but also more physical defending. That has to be an upgrade. But of course, really, for Ederson to be deemed anything like the perfect fit for the United midfield, he also has to bring a lot on the ball. And this is where I've seen a big development in his game in the past 12 months or so. 18 months ago, I was looking at him and thinking, he's a good player on the ball, but does he bring enough? Is he progressive enough? I think he's getting there. I think his progressive passing numbers are getting better. He's showing more intention to try and play the ball through the lines. Now, I should make it clear, I don't see him as sort of like a 6 who sits right at the bottom of the pitch. I think he is a bit more of a box-to-box midfielder. So you would, of course, have to find the right partner for him. Maybe United have that somewhere within the club. But I think Ederson really raises the floor. He's a pretty two-footed player. I think he's really good on his right foot and his left foot. Although he could use the left foot a little bit more with his passing. He seems to use it when he has to. I think if he used it more, he would be a much better player because his left foot is really good. He almost needs to trust it a little bit more. But in terms of, again, upping the levels at United, raising that floor, which is really, really essential for this rebuild, I think he could be key. And if United are trying to become a side which is really dominant off the ball as well, by being, physically intense, by pressing high up the pitch, but almost overwhelming the opposition, then Ederson is literally perfect. He plays in a pressing system at Atalanta, which is very difficult to play in. The intensity required, the stamina, the energy levels is insane, and Ederson does it better than most. He's very good from a physical point of view. And again, I think if we're looking at players that can raise the floor at United, bring the standards up, I absolutely think Ederson is one of them, and that's why so many people have suggested it. Now, for the wing-back position, we are going to go with a player which hasn't been suggested by as many people, but I have actually already suggested him on this channel. It is, of course, Semenyo, currently playing at Bournemouth. Why do I like Semenyo so much? He's versatile. He can play pretty much everywhere, particularly in this formation. He could play as a right wing-back, a left wing-back, a right-sided forward, a left-sided forward. Maybe, even if you were desperate, he could do a role up top as well. He has played as a striker in his career. I love that versatility, but also the fact that he is already Premier League proven. He knows the league. And what that does is it massively reduces that period that you need to sort of adapt to a new environment, a new country, a new culture, and all these things. He doesn't have to go through that, Semenyo, because he's already done it at Bournemouth. He is more than used to this league, and to be honest, I think he's one of the most underappreciated players in the league. Now, I've got him on the right-hand side right now, but like I said, realistically, he could do the job on both sides. What I really like about Semenyo is his dribbling ability. The fact that he is quite direct, he looks to take people on, and I think that's something that United need from this wing-back position. Again, if we're talking about the ability for Singo maybe to shift us to a back four at times in possession, that allows Semenyo that license to go a little bit further forward, to be a bit more direct, and again, United need that. Players that want to take the ball and drive at people and take people on in the final third. I think Semenyo is ideal. And that link-up that he could have with Ahmad just in front of him, that could be special. That could be a lot of fun. I spoke about this the other day. The potential to legitimately have two wingers on the same side of the pitch. Tactically, no team does that. And this is something that could make United really unique and really difficult to deal with and really difficult to try and set up against, really, if you're the opposition. I think Semenyo's creative work in the final third is extremely underrated. I'm not necessarily talking about a player who's going to get, 15 assists in the Premier League. That's unlikely to happen. But I think his linking work is really good. He's got an excellent understanding of the timing of release of the ball. He's such an effective ball carrier. It draws people towards him. It's, again, that tactical gravity where players go towards him to try and stop him. But the effect of that is that someone else has space, and Semenyo has the ability to find that player in the space. I really, really do like this guy as an option. Again, physically, he raises the levels massively. He plays in a very good pressing Bournemouth side. Again, he's used to the intensity of the Premier League. I think Semenyo could almost be a bit of a cheat code because he can play so many different positions to a high level. Physically, he raises the floor. He knows the league. I like it. Now, as we move up the pitch a little bit into the inside forward position, I want to stick with the idea of trying to find a Premier League proven player. And for me, there is one that stands out, and his name is Morgan Gibbs-White. He's just going from strength to strength this season. He's clearly been a very good player for, honestly, 5 or 6 years now, but this season really feels like that moment where he's taken the next step in his career. And again, if we're going back to the criteria at the start of the video, physicality, intensity, Morgan Gibbs-White ticks those boxes. He's broad, he's tall, he's strong. He's actually weirdly good in the air for this sort of attacking midfield role. I think, again, if we're talking about physically raising the floor at United while still bringing technical quality to the team, I think Morgan Gibbs-White is perfect. He's a really, really strong ball carrier. And, the reason he's so strong as a ball carrier is because, first of all, the physical power, the ability to shrug off the opposition, to hold the ball, to protect the ball, but also the technical quality as well. It's one thing being big and strong, you've got to be able to use your feet to be a good footballer, and Gibbs-White can do that. He can use his feet really well. That's why he probably would cost a lot of money. But he's really good at driving forward with the ball. And I think particularly in transition, it would make United a massive threat. If you could see the likes of, Dorgu, Gibbs-White, perhaps Højlund running, carrying, driving, that's really really frightening for the opposition to try and deal with. That's a lot to try and take in for the opposition. That's tough. And I think what would happen over time is, because United would have so much transitioning threat, I think eventually teams would start to drop off a little bit deeper, and that is exactly what Amorim wants. He wants teams to fear United so much that they start dropping a little bit deeper, because Amorim is a coach that is pretty good at trying to break down these sort of blocks, and I think that's what he wants this United team to become, a team that dominates the ball. The way you dominate the ball is by forcing the opposition to play deeper, and the threat of someone like Gibbs-White, I believe, would achieve that. It would force the opposition to play back. Now, the next step for him would be actually then developing in those situations. He's got the ability to tactically force the opposition deeper, but he himself actually then needs to get better against deeper defences. That is an area where he needs a bit of work in his game, but I think at 25 years old he can still achieve that. He's probably 2 or 3 years away from his prime. A bit like the rest of the players on this list. They're all coming into their prime in the next 2 to 3 years, and I think that's what United need. Yes, we need to sign the youngsters, players that have a lot of potential and, in 10 years might still be playing for us. We do need those signings, but you also need those players who know what they're doing, who have really found and discovered themselves as players. They've figured out how to use their body, their technical strengths, they've had a lot of improvement, they've got maturity about them and experience. You do need those players in your squad who are coming into this age bracket, and I think these 4 are certainly players that can do that. Now, I am not suggesting that Manchester United should go out and sign these 4. In fact, financially, it's probably not even possible for us to sign all 4 of these players. But again, I think if we're talking about the idea of the players that we should be looking at, the type of footballer, more than anything, the type of footballer that United should be signing, I think these guys sort of fit the bill and almost set the standard, set the idea of what we should be looking for in the market. I'm really interested to hear what you guys have got to say on this. Get in the comments down below and let me know some similar alternatives for each of the 4 players that I have just listed. So another centre-back who is tall, strong, but really quick and really good defending in the channels. A midfielder who dominates pretty much all of his duels, whilst also being quite a progressive passer. A wing-back who can be, physical again, but also direct, who can pick the ball up, who can carry it forward, can combine in the final third. And then also an inside forward who has the ability to tactically force the opposition into a different kind of approach. If you can find that, let me know some players in the comments down below, and maybe, just maybe, I'll do a video on them. Apart from that though, for today, I think we're finished. So thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.